The 0-2 pitch, swing and a miss, struck him out. The Philadelphia Phillies are 2008 World Champions of Baseball.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Phixated Podcast. I am your host, Mike Azzalina, joined by fellow Hufflepuff, Chris Regensburg. Buddy, just two Hufflepuffs recording a podcast tonight.
Listen, couldn't be happier that we'd be in the same house. I feel like it's only right. Because I'd miss you. I'd feel like you were far away from me and I wouldn't like it.
I mean, I feel like they're all in that same, castle somewhere.
I know, but it's a big castle.
Yeah, you're also not allowed to, intermingle, it feels like.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. We spent the majority of our together lives, within almost arm's distance of each other.
Right.
At all times.
Right.
Other than
so
classes.
For those of you that haven't figured it out, I've finished the first book.
You read that quickly, by the way. We
Potter
recorded that podcast a week ago.
Right. Well, remember, I was on a plane.
Yeah, that helps.
And in a hotel.
Yeah,
and I had
helps.
a snow day in Kansas City.
Yeah.
Or not Kansas City, Wichita. So, a little bit of a reader's advantage there.
That's
I
fair.
don't think these books are going to take me very long.
No, I don't think so.
One, because they were originally written for kids. Two, because they're really well written.
They are.
Very
They're
engaging.
very good.
Very
Yeah.
engaging books.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it. To create a world, right? Just out of thin air. She just created a world.
Yeah.
And it's so cool.
Yeah.
I loved it, Regs. I had a blast reading it. We joked when we logged on here, what house, and we went through them. I'm clearly not a Slytherin house. I don't have that kind of meanness in my body. Ravenclaw is their intelligence. Not that neither of us are smart. It's just that's not our guiding trait.
No.
Right? That's just not. And then the Gryffindor, which everybody wants to be, there's some pieces of courage here.
But when you're honest with yourself,
it's not your guiding trait. My guiding trait is that I'm a very loyal person. So that's where I belong. I do wonder though, as I'm reading, I then watched the movie, by the way.
I love that. I love that you are doing one at a time.
Yeah, I watched it today.
That's great.
I sat down and watched it. I do wonder how Hermione's not in Ravenclaw.
It is yes. It's why I think they bring it up in the movie. I think that it's one of those things that.
All right. I look forward to that conversation. I understand Ron, and I guess Hermione showed a little bit of it in the final moments of Sorcerer's Stone.
Yeah.
But initially I'm sitting there thinking she's so intelligent. It doesn't feel like loyalty is the thing that she values the most. But I'm interested to see where it goes. I really freaking enjoyed it, and I've already started book 2. I'm 2 chapters in. So
fantastic.
We're just running. We're gonna run right through them.
As a fellow not huge fantasy guy, but who love these books, I'm delighted to hear that you're enjoying them.
Loved it. Loved book 1. Actually, it got me thinking, what is a world I could create as an author? I love to write. I want to write some sort of fiction, series. I've started realistic fiction, but what's a fantasy world that I could create? So I'm working on it.
Listen, I know it's one of the most difficult things to do is to create a world like that and have the foresight and just the sort of breadth of imagination to create those things.
Yeah.
And I think I just appreciate the sort of effort that goes into that. Again, my favorite fantasy things are Tolkien, and Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter, and Game of Thrones. 3 of the most in-depth fantasy worlds ever created.
Yeah.
So I think there's a certain level of appreciation that you can find for it, which also kind of hooks you in. You're like, man, how does somebody think of all this? And she was thinking of book 7 while writing book 1. She had to tie all that together. And to do that is an incredible feat of intelligence and imagination and foresight
it's one of the
that I'm
rare
not
series.
capable of.
It's one of the rare series that I've heard people talking about that no one ever complains about. I've never heard anybody be like, I hated the way it ended. I've never heard somebody who loved Harry Potter say that they hated the way it ended. They had issues with certain books and like certain things, right? But everybody was pretty pleased with the ending, at least from what I'm sure that, you know, there's someone out there who's, you know, listening saying, some bullshit, listen, Mike. I didn't love it.
Couldn't be happier that we'd be in the same house. Very happy about it.
Well, yeah, that's where we are. We would both be Hufflepuffs. So I honestly I also believe that Joel Embiid would be a Hufflepuff. I do. I believe that with every ounce of who I am. He is super loyal to his family. You hear him talk about his son all the time, and like didn't want to be away during Christmas. I truly thought that feigned injury was a feigned injury. Like, I think he just wanted to be home. Loves the city of Philadelphia. I don't think, you know, he necessarily wants to go anywhere. I think his hand could be forced, but I don't think he wants to be anywhere. So he's a Hufflepuff. The problem is that the knee's bothering him again, Regz. So what the heck is going on? Because this team is not great without Joel.
No, which I think, again, in my own mind, you get freaked out by like losing three in a row. They're the top, you know, they're in the top 3 of the Eastern Conference. So when you see a team like that lose 3 in a row, it's a shocking kind of thing. And again, every team is going to lose 3 in a row at some point in the season. It's going to happen to everybody. It's one of those things that happens in an 82 game season, especially in basketball where there's so much variance. And especially for a team who's missing their best player and the one player who gives them a different dimension. This team currently constructed is not full of number 1, number 2 guys. There's one number 1 and there's one number 2. And then there's a bunch of very serviceable rest of the team. I'm not going to take away from what Batum, Oubre, like Covington, all those guys, what they bring to this team, because you can't minimize what they've done for this team when they're healthy. But this team will never look right without Joel Embiid. They just won't. Tyrese Maxey is not that dude. He's not a number 1. I think everyone understands this. I think everyone's happy, like perfectly fine with that. No one has ever expected him to be a number 1 on an NBA team. It's just not his destiny. It's just not. He's not tall enough. He's not good enough on defense. He's not good enough at creating his own shot. That's okay. But this team cannot be the 3rd place team in the East without Joel Embiid. Like, this team without Joel Embiid is a 6th or 7th place team, if I had to guess. Which still makes the playoffs, right? You're still in a better position than several other teams in the entire NBA. And I think when we talk about Joel, my hope and my opinion is that of the only thing that matters is having him healthy for the playoffs. They're gonna hopefully beat the teams they need to beat when he's not in. I think several of their guys could play better, which would make it easier for them. But again, without that big guy in the middle, it makes all their jobs harder. And Paul Reed has been a little terrible, like with the foul trouble while Joel isn't in there. He could be smarter about how he plays and uses his time. That's a deeper Sixers conversation we could get into in a different podcast. But I think with where we're at in the season, this team is going to take and give Joel as much time as he needs to feel right. Because right now is not when we need him. We don't need him in there to beat the Hawks by 20. Mm-hmm. You know, we don't need him in there to beat the Bulls by 20. You saw what happened when we didn't have him against the Bulls and when we did have him. Like, you saw the difference in the scoring and how much we beat the Bulls by. It's just like these injuries that Joel has had have unfortunately always been to the lower extremities. Guys this big always have problems with their legs. Like, just go down the list of guys who are over 7 feet tall and where the issues are. It's just how it is. It's unfortunate. It's not great. Like, it doesn't add to their longevity. It doesn't add to the longevity of their career. But it always happens. And you have to make sure he comes back at 95 and 100%, not at 80%. Because that's when he hurts it more. He tries to be the same guy and he can't be. And then like a couple week injury turns into 2 or 3 months. And that's not where they can be.
And he's always hurt in the postseason. Like
Exactly.
he's never had a healthy postseason.
No.
So,
and
yeah. Nick Nurse knowing, this roster, this team is probably thinking, look, and I think Joel would be in agreement, right? Like, screw the MVP. I've got one.
I think this is a Morey thing too. I think this is coming from the top. Like, Nick Nurse plays guys.
Yeah.
He's typically not a guy who, like, even if you're a little banged up, sits you or doesn't play you the minutes you should. I think this is coming from the top. Like, the only thing they need to be good is Joel Embiid healthy for the playoffs.
Right. And they're in a fine spot right now. Like, they're 5 games behind the Celtics, but no one's looking for a 1 seed. I think we would be pretty happy with a 3 or 4 seed. Heading into
I think that's exactly where they need to be.
Yeah, I think that's perfectly fine. And they have the roster to do it, but you have the roster to do it only if Joel's healthy.
Very quick question. Do you think they should make a trade now to sort of hedge for the fact that Joel might be hurt for a little bit during the regular season at different times?
Yeah, I'm always of the belief of, like, do not panic yourself into a deal, right? Like, teams know they can hold you up. Like, you see it across the board, maybe not as much in, like, football. But, like, you could see it happening in baseball at times. You can see it happening in basketball. I thought the Knicks sort of pushed the panic button a little bit, then they whooped their ass. So, that deal actually looked okay, and they definitely have more room to add in New York too. So I don't want Morey to go do something just because Joel is down, but if something's there, then yeah. Like, I think if the opportunity presents itself and you've got the player who can not only help when Joel is down, but is a good complement to Joel when he's back, then go for it. Like, go do it. But it's got to be the right guy. It's got to be for the right assets.
I just think you have to be hyper focused on guys who they're not there to replace Joel Embiid's production. They're there to complement Joel when he's on the floor. Like that's why I think Zach LaVine is still ridiculous.
Yeah,
I don't want Zach LaVine.
I don't think that works very well at all.
That guy comes in and sees Joel not on the court and says, "I'm the best player here."
Yeah.
Like, it's just
I think
not.
You might even do that with Joel on the court.
It's not what this team is looking for. That's what I mean. It's very specific to, like, a Luke Kennard, an Alex Caruso type.
Yeah,
like those guys. Who
Kennard could be perfect for them.
Yeah,
he could
like a more lethal Covington.
Yeah,
like who replaces a lot of the Batum minutes since he's getting older. Like, it allows Batum to, like, have a few less minutes, come in and be really fresh when he comes in.
Yeah,
I
do think that's
Oubre
probably
and
more
like Melton, like all that.
I think that's more the deal. I don't remember when the dedeline is. February.
I don't even know the exact date.
It's in February. It's in February. So we know that this is a very different team without Joel. They just have to stay the course until he can get back and start playing again. They have 5 games between over the next 8 days. So we got Friday at home against Sacramento, who's a top 5 team in the West. Monday in Houston, a top 10 team in the West. They're a playoff team as of today. Tuesday at home against Denver. We already know what that means. Friday in Orlando. That's a good team. Played them tough the last time they played. And Saturday
without Joel, right?
They did, yes,
Yeah.
but they won that game. Yeah.
Yep.
And then Saturday in Charlotte.
Yeah.
And that's not a very good team.
No.
So look, you don't want to look at a 5-game stretch and say 1-4 because then you'd be 1 out of your last 7, which wouldn't be great. But there, without Joel, like that's a very possible scenario. Actually, it'd be 1 of your last 8. Sorry. That's a very possible scenario without Joel. So hopefully, you can get back by the middle of next week or the end of next week, even. Maybe you steal one of these first 3. You could probably go to Houston and Denver. I feel like every time you go across the country, it's a little more difficult.
You don't beat Denver without Joel.
Right, but you could potentially see a scenario where like not everybody from Denver is playing. Because of the cross country. You see that pretty often in the NBA where like, oh, we're coming across country. We're not playing.
If Joker's playing, they don't win without Embiid.
Correct.
It's like it's a very simple equation with that one.
Because Paul Reed, again, like you said, in a lot of foul trouble. Marcus Morris too small. He doesn't provide protection at the rim.
Listen, I'm not saying it's a bad thing. It's just not
a
feasible scenario that you beat the Joker without Joel on the floor.
So let me say this real quickly before we move on. We just mentioned Marcus Morris. You see, he got the key to the city in North Philly.
I did see that.
And like the whole team was there, including Joel.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty freaking cool that the whole team showed up for that.
Yeah.
Because like it's not like a team, you know what I mean? It's not like a team thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like it's kind of like last year when Joel won the MVP and they were all eating dinner together when it was announced. Like I know we've talked about like the culture top down and like the winning piece of it, but it does feel like this group is bonded and this is a different group even.
Yeah.
So that makes me think someone like Joel does have that leadership quality that like he keeps people together. I mean, we've heard that from players. Like we've heard that from players who have played in Philly and just how much he's loved by his teammates.
Yeah,
and stuff
I
like
think
that. So,
I just think there's a big difference between where Joel excels in leadership, I think, is the social aspect of it.
Yeah.
Is like nobody has left Philadelphia and been like, yeah, that Joel's a real asshole. Like nobody's said that. I just like there's just a difference in that and something that maybe doesn't translate to on-court wins and like a Tim Duncan kind of leadership, something that translates like directly to actual basketball wins. I'm not saying either is invalid. I'm just saying like there's just a difference in what he's strong at from a leadership perspective as opposed to, and I think it's what he gets some criticism for is that his type of leadership doesn't lead to basketball wins or possibly championships or things like that. And for people who want to like detract Joel Embiid, like it's a big topic. Like it's a big thing. Like when you look at him as a basketball player, not as a teammate, it's something that people jump on.
Yeah, I think you said it perfectly. I think leadership has a very like, there are
different aspects to it,
different levels of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
We need a little more. Let's win some basketball games when they matter. Leadership.
Yes.
A team who does have that type of leadership, but has come up a little bit short over the last couple of years. The Phils. You good on Joel? We're good on the Sixers. You ready to
look,
scoot along?
I think the last thing is that you just hope it's not something serious that they're not telling us. I tend to have a
tendency to do.
Yes. At this point in time, I tend to be more towards if it's bothering him, we're not going to push it to get it back, right? Like things are going to bother people, especially when you're 7'3". Things are going to hurt throughout the season. Yeah. So if they're just taking the time to make sure that he feels 100%, perfectly fine with that. I really hope it's not something like larger that we just don't know about.
I don't think it is.
No, like I said, I tend to be on the side of like this kind of hurts today, or this week. So we're like, cool. Take your time. Come back when it feels right.
Not rushing.
Exactly. Yep.
All right. So let's jump to the Phils and the Hall of Fame stuff real quickly to update everybody. I actually did not look to see how many votes were in. I can pull it up real quickly. I have it right here. They are at, because I'm too far this way. Good job, Mike, on this thing. Goodness gracious. You wonder sometimes, does this guy like worry that someone's gonna mess up his thing? So there's 142 ballots in. They've added like 35 since you and I last recorded.
Yeah.
Bobby is down to 18.5% of the vote. He's safe, but he's down 3 voters. That's a jump from last week. Jimmy is up 1/10 of a percentage point.
Attaboy, Jimmy.
Good job, Jimmy. He's down 1 voter than he was last year. Chase doesn't have any up or down because it's his first year on the ballot, but he's at 46.5% of the vote. I really think he might finish over.
Which is wild.
I think he might finish over 50% of the vote in year 1. I did not expect that. I expected like 30s. I did not expect 50% of the vote, and I think that's where we might end up. And Billy Wagner's probably going to get in. He's up 6 voters. He's at 80%. He looks like he's heading to Cooper's.
Is that crazy to you?
No, he was pretty darn good.
I know he was good in his time.
He was pretty darn good, man.
But like, I don't know. I don't see Billy Wagner, and I like think Hall of Famer.
Well, again, you look at it positionally.
Yeah, that's fair.
I mean, you look at it positionally. There are some guys in there who were
Yeah.
And Billy was better than for a good portion of his career.
That's true.
He was sort of like an anomaly at the time he was pitching because not everybody was throwing 102 miles an hour at them.
Right.
He was coming in pumping 101, 102.
And as a lefty, I feel like there weren't a lot of lefties throwing that hard back then.
Right. It was like Randy Johnson.
Yeah.
That was, that was it. Right. So that's where they're at. I think, we're pretty much where we thought we would be with Jimmy. Bobby, same. Chase is a surprise. Not that I don't think he's a Hall of Famer. I just didn't expect this.
Yeah, right
off the bat. So, but the current Phils, Regs, today was the arbitration deadline, and we have some stuff. Here to discuss.
Love it when we have stuff.
Yeah. So, they were able to match numbers with 4 of the 5 guys in arbitration. Now, this does not include the guys who they already dealt with earlier, right? Yeah. Like Stubbsy and Cave and Covey, those guys that were already dealt with. These are the 5 that we've been talking about for pretty much the whole offseason. Mm-hmm. So we'll work from lowest number to highest number in terms of salary. And Mundo Sosa back at 1.7 seems fair for a utility guy.
Totally fine with that. Yep.
We got our Bud Hoff back at about 2.2. I think it was the number. Which, like, you texted me earlier. I hope he's the same guy. I think we might see a little bit of a step backward, but
he's not going to be the same guy.
I still think he's going to be really effective. The stuff is nasty. That stuff is nasty. And he was still dealing late into the postseason.
Yeah.
And again, even if he takes a step back, him at 2.2.
But also, like, I think we have to temper our expectations. This was a guy who came from nothing.
Yeah.
Got on the team and was literally our most trusted reliever in the playoffs. Seriously. Outside of Alvarado. Yes. Yeah. Outside of Alvarado. He was our number 2 reliever in our bullpen.
Right.
Like, listen, if he maintains that, like, wow, what a steal. Like, what an unbelievable job by him to, like, be that guy. But also, even if he's your number 4, I'm perfectly fine with that. Like, if he's behind Alvarado, Sir Anthony, and Soto, cool. I'd love having Jeff Hoffman as my number 4 guy with that slider and that fastball. Like, I think you can be perfectly happy with that.
I agree. Look, I think this team has a top 5 bullpen in baseball, like the way that it's already constructed. And I do think Hoffman can be that fireman from the right-hand side. Like, I don't know that changes. I think sometimes guys need to find a comfort zone, right? Like, this is a guy who was they tried him as a starter in Colorado, I believe, and just that wasn't going to work. But like, when you move into a relief role and you're like, all right, well, I don't really have to harness my stuff because I'm a reliever now. I'm not a starter. I can just come in pumping 100 and throw my nasty slider off of that. he got a ton of swings and misses last year on both pitches.
Yeah.
So I just again, I'm not saying he's going to come out here and be that guy, but Alvarado wasn't that guy when he got here. It was just a guy with stuff.
Yeah, I think it's relative to the Phillies bullpen. Like we're not talking about him on like the Rockies or something like that. I just think when you compare it to the rest of the stuff in the Phillies bullpen, having him as a guy who could like is your second best righty out of the pen is a great place to be. Like it's fantastic.
I'd love it if you were the third. It was Kirkering, Sir.
I get that, but like I think realistically,
it's probably separated by like this much,
right?
Like,
but that's where you want to be. You don't want this huge drop off in between all these guys. So if he can just maintain his ability to come in and get righties out effectively and still be pretty good against lefties with that slider, like that's what we need. And if he can keep doing that, like we're in a great spot.
So and we'll dig more into that as we get further into the off season, closer to the regular season, closer to spring training even. Ranger and Soto signed for pretty similar numbers, right around $5 million. What cracks me up is like Ranger's gonna make $5 million to just dominate in October.
Yeah.
Like you're paying this dude $5 now. I've talked on this show about I'd love for them to just extend Ranger now, but they're clearly not doing that. So, and then Soto at that number is also again like that's totally fine. Like to have him sitting at that number.
What is what I just said. We had Kimbrel for $10 million, almost double.
Yeah.
And I think I think Rob Thompson will use Soto very differently this year.
Yeah,
I think there was a very weird, I don't know what about it, but they did not use him how they should have in the playoffs.
I believe that they wanted to have the time to work with him.
And he did have those visa issues coming over.
Yes,
like he did not have the full spring training that they expected. Yeah.
That's it. They wanted more time to work with him. They did not have the time to work with him. They had to go with what was there and didn't trust him entirely, especially in the postseason.
Yet, good job, Craig.
So I think this is probably the year where we see a little. You don't trade for a guy like Soto to pitch in the postseason.
Not at all. No.
So they wanted to work with him, and I think it's that. The only guy they didn't reach an agreement with is Alec Boehm. No one needs to worry. This is typical in arbitration. The fact that we got 4 of the 5 is wonderful.
Destiny had a good tweet about this. She was like, to Alec Boehm fans, this is perfectly fine. Like it's just like there's nothing to worry about.
There's nothing to stress about. No. This is just the way these situations go. Alec will be Philly.
Yes. There's no Alec Boehm's not going anywhere.
So there was some news in baseball today. Just Marcus Stroman signed with the Yankees, 2 for $37, which is just unbelievable. They had been rumored to be working on something with Snell, but he turned it down, didn't like the offer.
The Yankees or the Phillies?
The Yankees.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Friend of the show, Eric Kopp, texted me and said that the Yankees offer was 5 for $150 million for Snell, and he turned it down. I find that really hard to believe.
Mother of God, really? Why would he turn that down?
30 a year.
Yeah.
The guy's like,
why would he turn that down?
I need to see where that. I have not seen any national. And again, you know how I feel. If Jeff Passan doesn't say it, I don't believe it. I don't care what local guy says it. If I don't see it from Jeff Passan.
By the way, shout out Jeff Passan and Jason Stark for their Hall of Fame awards.
Yes, well deserved.
Or Jason Stark Hall of Fame. Passan won Sports Writer of the Year, right?
The Sports Writer of the Year. Yeah. I think was it the Frick? Is that what he won?
Yeah.
I think he's honored at Cooperstown though. If I'm not mistaken.
That's the next Twitter video we got to make. Get Mr. Passan on the show.
Oh my gosh, when the Phillies roll, don't even get me started. I only believe things that Jeff Passan
That's what I mean.
says.
This is maybe our next.
That's it.
This may be our next. Him and Jason Stark. Let's make videos for both of them.
Well, I mean, Jason Stark's my hero.
That's what I mean.
I have booked I have books signed by Jason Stark.
Okay, this will be our next thing. We'll talk about this later.
So yeah, we'll talk about it later. So I 5 for 150. If Snell turned that, like at this point, people have been saying like he's only getting offers of like 2 years with options, things like that.
Yeah.
I've not seen anything about 5 for 150. So that would be obscene to turn down. You're not getting that, buddy.
No,
like,
not at all.
You're not getting that.
No.
Well, I'll be curious to see where he ends up. The door could be open for the Phillies. I don't see it. I just think this is the roster. They're gonna do some things on the margins, right? Like they're probably gonna get a reliever that can sort of like navigate the 6 starter role, and like they have Strom to do that if they really need it. But I'd rather
him stay in the bullpen.
And,
Yep.
I said this before the show. Like this is a Michael Lorenzen type of, like if he's available back, I'd be fine with that. I'd be totally fine with Michael Lorenzen coming back being the swing guy. Honestly, when he came out of the bullpen in the postseason, he was better than half the dudes they brought out. He was better than Kimbrel in the situation they brought. I think I'd be good with that type of a move.
Yeah.
I don't see them going and getting another like an out that's going to start.
Yeah.
At this point, I think we talked before the show. I think a Travis Jankowski, an upgrade over Cave, a left-handed.
I mean, I'd still take Duvall.
upgrade over
Like
Cave.
if they want to go get Duvall.
Yeah, but then that becomes a platoon more so for, I feel like, Marsh, right? Like, I don't know. I is it possible? Sure. I feel like lefties would to help spell Rojas from time to time.
Yeah.
And Jankowski's probably that type of a player. Look, Regz, when I think about this team, and yeah, of course, they went after Yamamoto, and I think people are confusing that with like going after Snell and Montgomery. Yamamoto is a 25-year-old ace.
That's
like,
the difference.
Those guys
don't exist. They don't exist.
Yes, in free agency.
Right.
They exist,
exactly.
just not in free agency.
Exactly.
It's different than a 30-plus-year-old Blake Snell. It's different than a 30-plus-year-old than Jordan Montgomery, who are looking for that $30 million a year.
Yeah.
Like you don't give guys that number, especially with the injury history of Blake Snell.
Well, and especially when you're looking to re-sign another 30-plus-year-old in Wheeler. Like you're not
right.
Like that's
right.
Your priority is not those guys.
And you've got Andrew Painter coming.
Yeah.
Like, so going back to the point I was jumping on before, like when I look at the roster, I already told you they have a top 5 bullpen. Honestly, I'd argue top 3. I'd argue that to the ends of the earth. I believe if they don't have the best rotation in baseball, it's not far from the best rotation in baseball. It's easily in the top 5. It sits in the top 5. The Dodgers might have when Shohei's healthy.
Yes.
The best rotation in baseball.
Yes.
And that's hard to argue. But I think the Phillies are second or third in that conversation. And then in terms of the lineup, again, top 5, I guess you could say top.
Yeah. I just think
you could argue me on that, but like this, I understand this team didn't do what everybody wanted them last year, but it took 3 really shitty offensive games for them not to go back to the World Series, and I just don't see it happening again.
Yeah, I was talking about this with somebody just recently. It's like we spent 11 years not going to the playoffs. To the playoffs. Not like not going to the World Series or the championship game. We didn't even make the playoffs for over a decade. And we've now been to the NLCS in 2 years in a row. Like, just think back 5 years, how much you would have begged for a team that went to the NLCS twice in a row. This is you've said this before, and I'll credit you for this. This is a 90-win team who didn't have Bryce Harper for 3 months. And even after he came back, didn't have a Bryce Harper who trusted his elbow to swing hard enough. He just didn't. So essentially 3 or 4 months, you didn't have the real Bryce Harper. And you had a Trey Turner in a transition year where he clearly didn't play his best. And I just saw that MLB tweeted their top 10 shortstops. Trey Turner is 5th behind Dansby Swanson, which is absurd.
He's going to take that personally.
Which is absurd.
Yeah, he's going to take that personally.
Dansby Swanson is not a better shortstop than Trey Turner.
He was number 1 last year.
And I debate if Xander Bogaerts is. I debate that. I understand Xander's a good player, but like
Xander was awful last year. He was worse than Trey last year.
For the record, it went Seager, Lindor, Bogaerts, Swanson, Turner.
I'd argue you said Seager, Lindor,
Bogaerts, Swanson, Turner.
I think Seager's the only one on that list that is truly better than Trey.
I agree with that completely.
But
that's what we're talking about.
Get out of here with Lindor.
That's what we're talking about, though. And so when you truly look at this team, I think if people are honest with themselves, you can't argue the fact that when you look at it and when management looks at this, that they think this is a 97, 95, 98 win team just because those guys are coming in completely healthy, already a year into their contract. Yes, thank you. But like, you can't, like, I'm not sure you could make a good argument that this team wins any less games than 95. Like with those two guys being back and like fully into it, with Bohm and Stott and Marsh having another year under their belt. Like Marsh played fantastic in the playoffs against righties and lefties. Like he was honestly maybe our most trusted hitter in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Regardless of matchup. And I think when we think about it, like they signed the best option in Nola. They went out and got the best guy that they could get in Nola.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to keep, like, Wheeler will re-sign. Getting Ranger at $5.5 million is ridiculous for how well that guy pitches in the playoffs. Like, I've related it to this before. This is a team that is patiently waiting for what teams don't play well for half a year. I bet at the trade deadline, things happen because some teams that are supposed to be good are going to be bad. And some guys who aren't available right now are going to be available.
Yeah.
Like it's always how it happens. It's always how it works. But you can't, I'm not sure you could argue the fact that this roster really needs to change that much. Like, yes, there are things they can improve on in the fringe areas, but that's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
And that's kind of been my thing this whole offseason.
It has been. Like, you're absolutely right. You've been on this from the beginning.
Everybody's been like, well, we're just going to run it back with the team that lost in the NLCS. There are 28 teams who didn't even go to the league.
Also, if you play that series 10 times, they maybe lose 2 of them.
Yeah.
Like it's just not it's not a thing that happens.
And then, look, the one thing I will say that concerns me, this is the one, and you know how much I love the kid, is that going with Johan Rojas and trusting Johan Rojas to take a leap forward is a thing. Because we could get to the end of May and he could be hitting 180.
That's true, but I don't think if I'm to make the argument as to why, like I agree with you. I truly do. When you're looking at a team that wants to win the World Series, they're like, even at any position to have that kind of variance is almost unacceptable. But like, I think when you can argue the fact that half a year of that doesn't set this team back that much with a fully healthy Bryce Harper and a Trey Turner who's playing that well. Like, even granted, do you want your 9-hole hitter hitting 180? Of course you don't. But he did hit 280 something in the regular season. So I think I agree with you. I don't necessarily want Johan Rojas being my starting playoff center fielder with how he played last year. But I also think that I'm willing to be okay with that defense offense, like kind of difference for half a year until the trade deadline to truly see like what's going on, because the rest of the team is just that good. Like the rest of the lineup is just that good.
I think at this point, like I agree with you. Like if I'm going off of last year's situation, center fielder, but he could absolutely change our minds and show that he's changed his ability to see pitches. I was listening to High Hopes and I heard Jack say that he wasn't sure that's something that can change. I don't know that I agree with that. Like I can remember early in like high school, I didn't have the best pitch selection, and then by the time I left high school, I some of the best in our school's history.
It can happen.
I think you can change as inexperienced, not as inexperienced, as young as he is and impressionable as he is. You can definitely become a more selective hitter. It's really, there are different ways you can change your stance to see the ball better. Different ways that that your hands are like. There's a lot of things you.
But look, also as a rookie, like you'd expect that to be his worst time to be in the playoffs.
And he wasn't necessarily like he was up for like a month and a half.
What rookies show up to the playoffs and like are the best outside of Corbin Carroll?
And didn't play AAA.
Exactly. But I mean, like Corbin Carroll's a freak. So like, that's not relatable.
And Corbin Carroll was up all year.
Right. But it's just like, you're not comparing the same type of player.
No.
You're not comparing the same type of player. Like,
no.
You're exactly right. It's a guy who was up for a few months and then got put into the playoff, into the playoffs where you're seeing the best stuff all the time.
You know what you do? Teach him to bunt. Just if he could just learn how to bunt.
For the love of God, yes.
I mean, I just need him to know how to bunt.
Yes.
Because he's impossible to throw.
Right. One bobble and he's safe all the time.
I don't even know if it's a bobble. I don't know.
Even a bad grip makes him safe.
Yeah. So I mean, look, I think we're gonna kind of hone it in here and just say there's moves that are coming. They're just not going to be the moves that everybody wants. They're not going to be the moves everybody anticipates. I do think they had a reliever. It's a reliever that can fluctuate that fifth starter spot they need it to be. And look, they could be fooling us entirely, and they could end up bringing in somebody to replace Walker.
Yeah.
I don't know. But right now, it doesn't feel like that's going to be the case. They feel like this roster can get him back there, and I actually very much agree with that, and I've been saying it for quite some time. So, that's kind of where I'm at with the Phils, and we're not far, man. We're like a month out from pitchers.
Oh my God, I can't wait.
And we might need it, Regz. We might need it a lot faster than we thought, because
I need it now. I'm not.
While the 10-1 Eagles were cooking, the 1-5 Eagles were not cooking. So we're gonna jump over to the postseason, and we're going to do that with a little bit of a game here. Regz and I are going to draft our very own roster of teams in this playoff. We're gonna draft this roster of teams, so we're each going to have 7 of the playoff teams. And the winner will end up being we'll end up getting a beer bought for them the next time we see one another.
That's right. First round is on the loser.
There is no rule about needing AFC teams or NFC.
Nope.
Just drafting.
Whatever team you want. Yep.
Whatever team you want. So basically, the two of us are trying to get as many AFC teams as we can because the NFC sucks. I'm kidding. I have a strategy.
Okay.
So we're gonna do that. Then we're gonna jump in some other things that have been happening over the last few days. So, Regz, how do we decide who drafts first? We did not do this.
Rock, paper, scissors.
Rock, paper, scissors, shoot.
Yep.
Okay. Oh, just one, right?
Just one. One and done.
All right.
Ready?
You got to hold your hand up higher. I can't see it. All right. Here we go.
Rock, paper, scissors, shoot, right?
Yes.
Yes. Rock.
All right. Rock,
paper, scissors, shoot. Damn
this is really hard.
Go again. Rock,
paper,
scissors, shoot. Yes.
You win. All right, you get first pick. That was really hard to do. All right, you get first pick.
I'm taking the Baltimore Ravens.
All right, that was gonna be my first pick. Okay. Okay. I'm going to go with, I guess I have to, San Francisco.
I was about to say, if you weren't going to pick them, I might just win.
I had another thought. But
okay.
You have to go with the other 1 seed.
Yeah, I think so. All right, I'm up.
Yep.
I'm taking
not
the
snake.
Buffalo Bills.
All right, that was going to be my next pick. God damn it. I don't love the way this has started for me. All right, you can't go you can't go against 15. I'm going with Kansas City.
That's a good one. It was in between those two. Okay.
I know who I'm going next. I already know.
Give me Cleveland.
Thank God you didn't do it. I love you for it. Give me the Rams.
That was a very close choice. It's a very close choice for me.
I swear to God, they're winning, and then they're gonna beat San Francisco.
I know.
It's absolutely.
Look, I'm with you, man. I'm not. Yeah, it was a very close second. I don't like it, but give me Dallas.
Yeah, I actually hate it for you because I'm gonna go right back and take Green Bay.
Okay.
I actually think Green Bay is gonna beat them this weekend. I think Dallas is one and done. Green Bay is terrifying for Dallas.
I know. Give me the Lions.
All right, then. You know, I wasn't necessarily going to do this, but why not? Like, I love the team. I love the coach. Give me Houston.
Yeah, that was going to be my next one, too. Because I don't like any of the rest of them. That's a good one. I'll take Miami. I think it's just the best. I know, but it's just the best of the worst. It's just the best of the worst.
Well, you know I'm doing it. Give me the Eagles, baby.
Attaboy. What, the 10th pick in our 12-team draft is the Eagles?
Value pick.
That's right.
Sleeper.
That's right. I'll take Tampa over Pittsburgh. I don't want anything to do with Pittsburgh.
I freaking hate Pittsburgh. I can't believe I have to have them on here. Gosh, it feels dirty. All right, so to recap, Regz has Baltimore, Buffalo, Cleveland, Dallas, Detroit, Miami, and Tampa Bay.
I'm very pleased with my top three.
I
extremely pleased with my top three.
I'll be honest, I'm very pleased with my top three too.
I'm happy.
San Francisco, number 15s, the Rams, Green Bay. I actually love my 4 through 6. I think my 4 through 6 gives me.
You did better on the lower end than I did. Absolutely.
Well, I don't know. I mean, seating wise, you did better.
I know, but like Dallas, Lions, Miami, like are just like such crapshoots.
I really just have faith in Green Bay to beat Dallas this week.
Listen, would anything make me happier than Dallas losing in the first round to Green Bay? Like, no.
The day before the Eagles play?
All day, give me that. Give me that all the time.
Gosh. Oh, my gosh. All right. So, yes, we're going to get to the playoffs here in a little bit, but a couple of quick things to cover. Brian Johnson being interviewed by two teams, being interviewed by both the Titans and the oh my gosh, I'm drawing a blank. Who was the other team?
Panthers.
Oh, Carolina, the Panthers. Yeah. Regz, here's the thing. These are not very smart organizations. We know this.
Take them.
I don't know that they're going to, Regz. I don't think they're going to.
I agree.
But there is something to be said for this. They both have two very young quarterbacks. And he could sell himself on the following. I developed Jalen Hurts.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they have two young quarterbacks, both who struggled. Well, Bryce Young struggled. Will Levis played really well till he got hurt here at the end of the year. But could be a conversation. Just something to kind of look at. He's been. I will give him this. In his press conference yesterday, the media really pushed him to be like, "How can you fix this?" And he was like, "Look, this is my job right now. Like this is what I'm here to do." And I know, you know, we got some of that from Gannon last year, but I actually do believe Johnson is.
Yeah, Gannon was a rat.
Yeah, he's a rat, but we miss him. Never thought I'd say it.
I mean, but also we could have had what's his name as our defense coordinator if he had been honest about Arizona.
Fangio.
Yeah,
Vic Fangio.
You know what would be better than Matt Patricia?
Having
Vic Fangio.
Yeah. Also, Jonathan Gannon. And honestly, Sean Desai. Like it's just we'll go the whole way there.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time though. We'll see what happens. I don't see him getting either job. There are just too many coaches out there right now. Too many guys.
What a day for coach
been
stuff
wild.
today.
Wild.
Crazy.
The Belichick thing, the Saban thing.
Carroll.
We came off of Carroll. We came off of Vrabel. Like it is
into Saban and Belichick, like the two winningest coaches in college and professional history.
Yeah. Now Saban's done. I think Belichick.
Oh yeah. No, Belichick. He's going to coach until he gets the record.
He's either going to coach. I can see him Atlanta, and I can see him in Dallas.
Dallas would suck because they have a lot of talent on defense that I feel like he could utilize.
Yeah, 100% agree. But also, like, I don't know. Bill just hasn't been the same.
Well, no.
He hasn't been able to get, like, young stud coordinators.
I don't think he's good at being a GM also. I think that's the key. If someone tells him just go be a coach and, like, you're not the personnel guy, I think if he accepts that, he could be very good at just being a schemer and like coming up with ways to fuck you up from the defensive perspective. Like there might not be anybody better than Bill Belichick at that. But like he's not a good personnel guy. He's not a good GM. You know what I mean? So that's where I think if he is willing to accept the fact that you're not like, we'll listen to you on who you want, but you just need to go be a coach. I think that's a huge difference. And to be quite honest, if Dallas gets him in that scenario with that defense and the talent that defense has, like it's frightening. It's frightening.
I just think if Dallas loses before the NFC Championship game, McCarthy's out.
Yeah, there's a chance.
I'll say this because this is going to lead us into our Nick conversation. I think it's pretty clear both of us are no on Bill Belichick train if Nick goes.
Yeah, no thank you.
Yeah. So let's talk about the Nick thing because look, people have been saying what's a bigger collapse, the 2023 Phillies or the 2023 Eagles. To me, that really depends on what happens with the like if the Eagles win a playoff game and they do it in a convincing fashion, then I think the last few weeks go away. Like if they go to San Francisco and then lose, like
who expected us to beat San Francisco? Exactly.
They're the best team in the NFC. Like even when the Eagles were 10-1, you could see that the Niners were more talented team. To me, Regz, this is a guy who in the last 2 years is what, like 25-8, like, and that doesn't include his 2 postseason wins, so 27-8 in the last 2 seasons. And look, we can say all we want. Well, his coordinators left, and look, he swung and missed on coordinator hires.
Yeah,
he swung and missed on that.
This year he did a good job. Last year,
his first hires were great hires.
Yes,
that doesn't mean he would swing and miss again. It doesn't mean that the Eagles brass couldn't come down and say, "Look, we're taking control of at least one side of the ball."
Yeah,
like we're gonna hire somebody to do this, right? Like whatever. I have not loved the schemes for this season. I just feel like it's a very different team than what we watched early in the year, and I'm not sure why. And some of me wonders, is there something we don't know about happening? Jalen's injury, like he's clearly not running the football. He's not running the football the way he did last year. I don't think people are talking about that. Like he's just not running with the same urgency. He's not pulling the ball. There's not as many RPOs.
He's not as athletic.
Yeah, and that just doesn't that doesn't go away on a 25-year-old. Overnight
after one year. Yeah,
I'm guaranteeing you, no matter what happens with this season, we're gonna find out that Jalen was banged up. The knee was worse than what we heard, and now he's got the dislocated finger. He hasn't even thrown yet this week. We're gonna get to that in a little. But like this whole idea of Nick needs to be fired if they lose on Monday. Do I think it happens? 100%. I think if they lose Monday, he's gone. If they get their doors blown off, he's gone.
Yeah.
Do I think it's a good idea? No, I don't. And I want to tell you why, and then I want your. I think it's a terrible idea to fire this guy after 3 seasons, all of which he made the playoffs. He's a year removed from a Super Bowl. I think, people say, well, what does he actually do? He doesn't call plays. His offensive scheme stinks. Well, we weren't saying that last year. I know he gave up play calling control, but from my understanding, it was still his offensive scheme. Again, I go back to how much is the Jalen thing hard? How much of it is holding them down in I just heard an interview with Javon Hargrave this week. And he was asked about the difference between Philadelphia and San Francisco. And he talked about the practices being much more difficult in San Francisco. But he also he made it very clear that the culture in Philly was strong. He liked the culture. He liked the locker room. He enjoyed it here. And I know that some of that falls on deaf ears when you're losing. But to me, Regs, some of this has to be on the players too. Some of this has to fall on the players if we're talking about locker room. You just can't turn your back on the leader because you're not. You can't say, well, their message sucks now. No. That's not how it works. I'm sorry. I understand that leadership, they have to be able to hold it all together. But these are adults. These are grown men that if they're just going to tune a guy out because they're losing and that's going to be the guy that they're tuning out. Sorry, I don't buy into that. And today Les Bowen was trying to say Jalen's one quote about he was asked about the play in Seattle and AJ coming out and saying they changed it at the line. And he's like, well, there's a lot that you guys don't know. You don't know what you don't know. And Les Bowen's sitting there saying well, there's something behind that. He's saying that, you don't know this, or you don't know. What are we doing? What narrative are we creating right now? I feel like we've just created this narrative in Philly that it goes back to what you said about the Phillies. I think you said it so well. They were in the NLCS twice. And they lost this year. So everybody's like, well, we got to do this and we got to do that.
Yeah.
We got to get this guy. We got to get that guy. The Eagles made the playoffs at 9-7 his first year after starting 1-5. Second year run all the way to the Super Bowl at 16-3. And then this year start 10-1 and hit murderer's freaking row. Struggle. Get to Seattle with their quarterback playing at 40%. Look, the Arizona loss, I have no excuses for. The Giants loss, I still sit here and I say, I don't think they really gave a shit. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think any of them wanted to be out there.
Yeah.
I really don't. I really don't believe that. I really don't believe they wanted to be out there. I just think that firing Nick would be a huge, huge mistake for this organization. Unless you can guarantee yourselves a guy like Mike Vrabel, someone that can come in and pretty much pick up the pieces and march on, because you just don't see this kind of success right off the bat. He's the first head coach to do what he's done. He's the only coach from that hiring cycle still standing. I don't know, man. I'm sorry. I just ranted. What do you?
I agree with you. I don't think outside of getting your doors blown off in Tampa.
And he's not without blame. I'm sorry.
No,
I just want to say that.
You're right.
Go ahead.
I even think even if they lose to Tampa Bay, depending on how you lose, there's a difference. I think the bigger things are that you whiffed on the coordinators, like you just did. I'm a little concerned that Nick hasn't come up with a way on the offensive side to fix some of the things that have been happening. To just continue to refuse to get guys to go over to the middle, to continue to not have an answer to blitzes is just it's unacceptable in today's NFL. Like, you have to have an answer. The best coaches always have an answer. I'm not saying it's perfect, but they always at least have an idea. Right now, the Eagles have nothing. Like, they aren't doing anything different from week 10 to now. So that's an issue. Like, that's a Nick issue. A, if you're not identifying that we haven't come up with anything, or B, that you can't think of anything to come up with. I also am still in the camp of teams who go to the Super Bowl and lose typically don't do very well. And this team kind of bucked expectations for 11 weeks, and then it really just kind of all hit them at the same time. The schedule, like just the weight of the pressure, all that stuff. I'm willing to give a guy who's gone to the playoffs for 3 years in a row the benefit of the doubt for one more year.
Yeah.
I am. But there are still a couple things that dude, you just have to fix it. You have to show us that you have something. Because right now you've shown that you're just okay with being like, well, it's just what we do. Like, that's unacceptable. That kind of mentality is unacceptable. Mm. From a defensive side, you just don't have the personnel to do it. Like, you just don't have it. You just don't have it. The defense needs a complete overhaul. Mm. From an offensive perspective, if you're telling me you can't come up with ways to like try and get this type of talent open easier, like there's plenty of examples out there of guys who do it. So what are you bringing me if you can't do this? What are you bringing me? Like, what are you bringing to the table? So I'm willing to give a guy who's been in the playoff 3 years in a row the benefit of the doubt for one more season, coming off a Super Bowl loss. Like, I'm willing to add that into all this. But you need to be willing to bring in coordinators who know what they're doing. And you need to be able to show us that you can do, like, that you can make adjustments, that you can find ways to get this level of talent to make it easier. Like, it just seems like this whole season has been, can we make it as hard as possible? Like, for these guys to have success. It really has seemed that way. And that can't be how it is.
No. And look, I gotta be honest with you. I don't know what we're gonna see. So I don't know what we're gonna see. I actually heard who was it? Sal Palantonio say today that he caught Lane Johnson coming out of the locker room this week and asked him, like, what's gonna change? Like, what can change? And he said, you're looking at him. And he said, we got to go back to running the football. So I wonder if that's the plan.
Yeah.
Like, that's how you counter a blitz, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like, you run the football and you get into third and shorts and teams can't blitz.
Mm-hmm.
Like when you're in 3rd and 2, 3, 4, teams can't do that to you.
Yeah.
Because you can run the ball right past the blitz. Like, that's when they're effective. But when they get into these 3rd and longs and teams can just come at you.
Oh, yeah.
And there's no answer for it. And that's hard, man. Like that's it's hard to watch. And look, we mentioned Bill before, and that's the one thing I'm really worried is, even if it's just a regular loss. Jeffrey Lurie is from Boston. He's Patriots obsessed. He brings people in all the time. Patricia's one example. He's tried to hire guys as head coaches from that tree. And he's just Patriots obsessed. And I worry that with any kind of loss, Nick's gone.
Yeah.
In the first round. I think if he can get out of the first round, and who knows what can happen after that, Regz, because I do think there's going to be an upset in those first two. I don't think if they win, I don't think they're going to San Francisco. They're either going to Detroit or to Dallas, or they're by some miracle hosting a home playoff game against I think it would be the Rams.
Yeah.
Which wouldn't be fun. But I don't think they're going to see San Francisco in the second round. I don't think the whole NFC is going to. I think it's going to be something else is going to happen in those games. One of those games is going to be upset. So, if not both. So, you could essentially see a path. Like if they go to Detroit, I don't feel like that's a guaranteed loss if they beat Tampa.
Yeah.
Like I don't. I could see them then going to San Francisco, and at that point, it's one freaking game. Who the hell knows what happens, right?
Yeah.
Like no one knows. So I think Nick needs one win to hang on to his job.
Yeah, I agree.
That's it. That's it. So we'll see what happens. We're gonna jump into just some updates across the board here. It sounds like Devontae will play.
Yeah.
He said today there's no doubt he'll be on the field. You can count on. He said that if it was a playoff game in New York last week, he would have played, which is great news.
Yeah.
Darius is going to play. He made a comment today that people are losing their minds about that they're happy they're playing on the road because, you know, they won't hear the booing and people are upset about it. And I gotta be honest with you. I see both sides. Like I see people being angry because Darius just says these things like, come on, man. Like no, read the room right now. You guys haven't won a whole lot.
Yeah.
But I also see the side that he's coming from. That's like, it's true. And I said it on the show last week. Like, I think it's good they're not playing it. Like, I think they need to get away from that for not feel that pressure and that angst, that they've been feeling. So I do think, and I said this to you yesterday, look, I think Darius Slay coming back changes a lot because of what he brings to you. Like, you don't have a guy on the roster once he leaves that can pretty much just be in isolation with somebody. Now you do. He's going to be with Mike Evans most of the night. Yeah. So if he's good in this game, win or lose, at least you know you have one corner next year.
Yeah.
Like, that's important. I will also be curious to see what happens with Keely Ringo. Is he starting or is it going to be Bradbury? Like, that's going to be an interesting little piece of the puzzle here. Jalen Hurts has not thrown since he came back into the game on Sunday. He's wearing a glove right now. I gotta be honest, I don't necessarily think. I think it's more of a decoy type of thing. I think he's okay. I'm not super concerned about him right now. I don't know what your thoughts are, but I don't think I'm super concerned.
I just think, yeah, why would you not take it easy with him to make sure it's as healed as possible?
I just don't think at this point there's not a whole lot of
Yeah.
And then the two who did not practice today, Reed Blankenship with the groin injury. I don't know, man. I don't know what that's gonna look like. He's a tough guy. Probably just being careful. I don't know what happens to the defense if you're leading tacklers off the field. That's a sign. And then your other situation you have that could be a real challenge for, which is an understatement, probably the understatement of the century. AJ Brown didn't practice, but was also not at practice. No one saw AJ Brown today. So my hope, if I'm being honest with you, is that he's sick. They can put him on the injury report for the knee because in the game last week, but he wasn't at practice today. So that is a concern, especially with an offense who's been struggling. To not have your biggest offensive threat available is certainly an issue heading into Monday night. But with the extra day, hopefully he will be okay. He will be available. No one answered today any questions about him when Devontae was asked. He said, you're going to have to ask him. So hopefully we get AJ tomorrow in some way or form, present in the building.
Yeah.
And we can get a better vibe of what he's going to be.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's the biggest thing. Like, we love Devontae, but like, you can't not have AJ Brown in a playoff game. Like, you just need that guy to be able to win. You need that guy to be able to win.
It would be a 2021 playoff against Tampa Bay.
Yeah. You need that guy to win.
So I think, we'll get to our prediction here in a little bit. We're going to do that game last on our prediction before we go through the whole postseason. We're going to do what last year. But I think for this, Todd Bowles blitz, right?
Yeah.
Like, I need to see something different.
We need to see anything. We need to see anything.
At that point, Regz, if I don't see anything different, then I might even be calling for
it's
Sirianni's
over.
head.
Yeah.
We're going to know right away.
Yeah.
We're going to know right away. If they go run, 4 verticals, we know right away that it's going to be a long night. Now, on the other side, real quickly, before we get into the games, important to note, Baker Mayfield did not practice today with 2 injuries.
Ribs and ankle, right?
And ankle.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, look.
Everyone has to step up. Like, everyone has to step up.
He'll be out there if he can be. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
But that's a thing. All right. We're going to go ahead and do our predictions for each game. I am checking to see who they're back is. I'm just curious. Kyle Trask, the rookie from Florida.
Yeah. Cool.
All right. So, we will go through the AFC first, and then we will run through the NFC. All right. So, first game this weekend. We got it. We'll have to agree. Okay.
Yep.
First game this weekend, Cleveland and Houston, 4:30 on Saturday.
Cleveland
is a 2-point favorite on the road.
I want Cleveland.
You got Cleveland?
Yep.
All right. I'll agree to it. I you know how I feel about Houston, but I'll agree to it. All right. So Cleveland is the 5 seed, I believe. If I have that correctly. I got to go to the playoff picture. They are. Yes. Okay. The second game that evening, Miami at Kansas City. Kansas City 5-point favorites.
I mean, I'm taking.
I don't.
It's going to be negative 20 degrees. I'm taking Kansas City.
I don't see how Kansas City loses that game to Miami.
Yeah.
I just
with
don't
that
see
weather.
why.
Yeah.
Yeah. Pittsburgh heads to Buffalo on Sunday at 1:00. Buffalo they are 10-point home favorite.
Yeah, Buffalo. Pittsburgh's terrible.
I got you there. Yeah, I got you there. All right. Do we want to run through the rest of the AFC while?
Sure.
All right. So we won't have spreads for this. We're just gonna have to go with it. Baltimore and Cleveland.
Baltimore.
But I will say I think that game's gonna be.
It's gonna be a close game, but I just think Baltimore's better.
All right. Division
Flacco
rivalry.
back in Baltimore is hilarious, by the way.
It is the upset. Yeah. All right, and then Kansas City, Buffalo. That would be in Kansas City, or would it be in Buffalo? I think it would be in Buffalo.
I think it's in Buffalo. I take Buffalo.
In Buffalo. Yeah, I think I do too. All right, so then who do we have coming out of the
Baltimore? I think Baltimore gets the Super Bowl.
Did they play this year?
Baltimore and Buffalo? I don't think so.
Yeah. No?
I don't believe so.
I'm just looking real quickly because I would just want to see what happened in that game if they did. They did not.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah. All right. I'll go with you on that. That defense is tough.
Baltimore's really good.
Yeah. All right. So now we go over to the other side. Green Bay, Dallas, and then the Rams and Detroit. And then, of course, the Birds and the Bucs. Green Bay at Dallas.
Green Bay's defense isn't good. Is really not good.
They're not. However,
listen,
just
I'm not telling you. I'm not telling you who to pick. This is my opinion.
Closer than the experts think. I think Dallas has a really hard. Best defense is keeping the ball away from Dak, right? Aaron Jones healthy, terrifying for that Dallas defense.
Yeah, sure.
Terrifying.
I just think Dallas scores every time they touch the ball. But you're right. If they can keep it away from them, there's a chance.
That Miami defense, also not very good, was able to hold Dallas down. They didn't score a whole lot. Now,
It's a fair
it is a
point.
home game.
Yes.
It is a home game. So that always matters. Rams at Detroit.
Rams.
Yeah. This Stafford thing, man.
And
This
Williams
Stafford
and the rookie wide receiver, like the Rams are just scary. The Rams are scary. Yeah.
They're tough, man. All right, and here we are. So we'll do our like our keys and actual predictions, since this is this. The Eagles are 3-point road favorites. 3-point road favorites. The total's 43.5.
I mean, do you have an answer to the blitz? That's the end all be all, because your defense, I have no confidence in the defense to stop anybody. So you have to put up points. And that means you have to have a way to beat the blitz, because Todd Bowles blitzes the third most amount of any NFL coordinator in the entire league. Yeah. You have to have an answer. And if you don't, you lose this game. I'm going to say Eagles win 24-21.
Wow.
Elliott hits a field goal.
Okay. In the pouring down rain. Jakey.
It's going to stop raining for him to kick it.
Oh, okay. Just for that.
Yeah, it's a Florida storm. It's going to roll in for an hour and then it'll be gone.
Yeah. All right. So for me, I'd agree. I agree with you, but I'm going to go to the other side. I think that the key is to let these guys do what they do. Like, we're not here to trick anybody.
Yeah.
We're not here to trick anybody. If Hassan Reddick's on the field, they should know Hassan Reddick's going to the quarterback.
Yeah.
Same thing with Sweaty.
Yeah.
Like, Sweaty has been a mess since Patricia took over third down call. He hasn't had a sack in 8 weeks.
I mean, he hasn't been good. He wasn't good with Desai either, but
he was better than he's been since Patricia took over. He hasn't had a sack in 8 weeks.
Yeah.
Patricia took over in week 11.
Yeah.
So, there's some correlation there. And you've heard his frustrations. Patricia took over third down play calling. I should be very clear. I also just think, like, I do believe that Darius Slay coming back is a huge boost for them. And will help in some ways. I do believe that. And I hope that they're finally put in some positions to be successful. So I think the key on the defensive side is let these guys do what they're paid to do.
Yeah.
If I see Hassan Reddick drop into coverage on the first play, I might put a hole in the TV in Knoxville.
It's over.
Other key to the game, I am 2-0 in Knoxville, Tennessee.
There you go.
So I have to do it. Birds.
And we've talked about it before it happens. So that means we're fine.
Yes. Birds 28, Bucs 17. So we have the Eagles moving on, which means that they will have a date with the Cowboys because of the reseeding.
Yeah, because the Rams would go to San Francisco, right?
So it'd be 2 division games.
Yeah.
In the divisional round.
Yeah.
Rams, Niners. Yeah, I agree, but this Rams team is
I think the Rams, they have one in them. I think if they went to Dallas, it'd be different. I just think San Francisco's too good.
Right, so San Francisco. And then we have Dallas and Philly in Dallas. And look, I'm gonna say this. I'm going to agree with you for depending on what team I see, depending on what I see come Monday night.
Yeah.
There's a good chance I might change my mind.
I agree with you, but for right now, Dallas wins in Dallas.
Yeah. I'm going to agree for now. And it's a very hesitant agree.
I'm with you. I don't like it. I don't like it.
Eagles could very well be out for blood.
Yeah, I don't like it.
Also, I don't think they're playing Dallas anyway. I just wrote them down. You seem pretty sure of it. I think Green Bay's winning. San Francisco or Dallas.
San Francisco. This is a Ravens San Francisco Super Bowl for me.
So who wins it then?
Baltimore.
I got Baltimore winning.
Lamar is the better quarterback, and that ultimately is what matters.
Yeah, I would love a Lamar Jalen Super Bowl.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah. All right, man. We're real quick fixated. It's simply this. Show up. Like, just show up. I don't know. We've heard all this talk about, we've been looking forward to the playoffs. Like, we've all been looking forward to it since the end of last year. We're going to turn on another gear. We're ready. Ocho Cinco comes out and says that they're playing possum. All these things, right? Like, we hear all these things. Would I love for all of it to be true? Yes. Do I believe all of it? No. I don't believe they're playing possum. Do I think they're as bad as what they've been? Absolutely not. Like, I don't. Do I think they're as good as 10-1? No. I think they're somewhere safely in the middle. I think their record is exactly what they are. 11-6. I think they're exactly what they are. And look, I know we just talked about Dallas like through this like a juggernaut. Let's not pretend like Dallas ran the East this year. The Eagles had it in control till 2 weeks ago. So like, I'm here to tell you. That Dallas has as good of a chance to lose on Saturday as the or on Sunday as the Eagles do on Monday. Every one of these teams does. It's a brand new season right now. And I do believe that a lot of the playoffs is who is the best quarterback on the field. And when I look at these rosters, there's I don't even see a game in the NFC that I would look at and assuredly tell you that Jalen is not better than that quarterback. Like, I don't look at this and say, oh, he's definitely not better than that. Definitely not better than that. Like, maybe your best arguments would be like Dak and Stafford, but I don't necessarily even believe myself when I say that. I think the only guys I look at on this list assuredly say that they're better than him on any given Sunday are Pat Mahomes and Lamar Jackson. You could argue Josh Allen if you want.
Yeah.
But Jalen already beat Josh Allen this year. He was the better quarterback that day. Josh was awesome. Jalen was better. Jalen's best game of the year. Is the last good game this team played. If they can find that magic, you get one win. Uncle Mo gets on your side, right? Like, Uncle Mo gets on your side with one win, with one solid win. One win you can walk away and say, see, we told you. Get a little confidence in yourself. And you're either going to go home to play someone, you're going to go to Detroit, who I think you're better than, and you're going to go to, or you could go to Dallas, who I think they're better than Dallas. And you have a little bit of that cockiness, a little bit of that confidence. You make a little run here, and all this like frustration and angst goes away. You forget these last 5 weeks if you win one or if you win a game or two in this postseason. Again, if you win a game and everything's chalk in the NFC and you have to go to San Francisco and you lose, no one expects you to win there anyway.
Yeah.
But if you win and you get to go to Detroit and you win that game and you go to the NFC Championship game, and now Sirianni can say, hey, I played wild card weekend my first the NFC Championship game, third year. There's no way you can fire the guy.
Yeah.
Just be ready to play. Have a plan. This team is far too talented to look the way they've looked. And look, some of it's on the players, some of it's on the coaching. Be ready to play. Coaches be ready to coach. Players be ready to play. If this team comes ready to play and to coach, they're a better team than the Bucs. Plain and simple. I don't care what the seeds say. They're a better team. They're a better team. Show up ready to play, prove it, and then we'll worry about next week when next week rolls around. That's it, Regz.
Yeah. We just need them to be themselves a little bit here.
I don't know what themselves is, but
Well,
yes.
we're hoping it's more like last year than these last 6 weeks.
So, all right, everybody, here's the deal. I'm going to be in Knoxville on Monday. Regz, we usually do some sort of like post-game thing.
Yep.
So I'll have my stuff ready to go. We will do something after the game, win or lose.
I have no kid practices on Monday, so I am wide open.
Well, I land in Knoxville at 5:30. So the plan for me is grab a little bottle of Captain, some Coke, head to my room, get some takeout, and park myself in front of that TV at 8:00.
Yep.
And then we'll do something afterwards.
Yeah,
then we'll figure out when we record next week after that, because I'm away. I come back on Thursday night.
We'll have a post-game pod, and then we'll figure out the next one.
Yeah. So until then, make sure you click subscribe underneath us here on the YouTube channel. Make sure that you follow us on all show platforms at the Phixated Podcast on Twitter, at the Mic Drop 5 for me, at Big Regz with a Z for him. Make sure you check out the Phixated fan page on Facebook and click the merchandise link in the show description. We will talk to you all soon. Make sure you have a wonderful rest of your weekend. Until then, be good to yourself, be good to others, and please, to God, go Birds.
Come on, Birds.
Oh, my God. Deep to right field. Way up there and way out of here.
The Philadelphia Eagles are Super Bowl champions. Eagles fans everywhere, this is for you.
The 0-2 pitch, swing and a miss, struck him out. The Philadelphia Phillies are 2008 World Champions.